I don't know why I'm nervous doing this with somebody. It's weird. It's like I'm on stage. I'm on display. I'm the dog and pony show.
It's me.
I know, and that's the even stranger thing is that it's you, but I'm still like nervous to do this. I feel like you're gonna judge me, maybe more harshly because I know you so.
I'm not gonna, dude. I'm about to talk about fucking my life.
All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Insights into a Soul, the podcast that nobody asked for, but here it is. I'm still sticking with that tagline. I like it. Fun episode. So as you know, we are back. We're trying to get on a regular schedule and podcast and do this thing. And part of the podcast, I want to bring on special guests to talk to you about different things. Just different aspects of life, right? Whatever they're doing, whoever they are, just find out who they are and get some insights into their soul. See what I did there? Branding. Today we got a special guest with us. We got Skelly. Most people know him as Skelly. His name is Jason. It's weird for me to call him Jason because I've known him for so long, but Skelly is his online persona, gamer tag. Skelly, we've been friends for, goodness gracious, how many years now? Over?
Almost 20 years.
Golly, it's been that long.
Since about 07, 08. So it's been about.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 17 years about. And we connected years ago because we both used to write for gaming sites. We did E3 together. We did BlizzCon together. We used to do a lot of stuff in the gaming space. And you've seen me stream with him, and we've done a lot of stuff over the years. And yeah, we've done podcasts together in the past as well. So thought a good guest to bring on as we're getting back into the groove of things would be a friend who we've known for a while. And I think Skelly's a good one for this too, because you've got kind of an interesting story, the way life has taken you and all the changes in life. So I'm not going to talk the whole time. I want to let you talk. So let's just kind of hit that. Let's just talk about who you are and where you're at in life and kind of the changes you've been making. So let's dig in because I think people, it's an interesting, okay, let me set this up before anything else though. Okay. Because Skelly's older, right? He's, you're in your 40s now. We're both old. I'm being nice, you know, old man. But you're in your 40s now. And in this phase of life, you've made a major decision to change your career, to change your whole trajectory and path in life. So just tell me about it. Tell me about the decision, what's going on, what you're doing. And yeah.
As you mentioned, we've known each other 17, 18 years. Done a lot over my life, you know, from the military to, you know, IT work to most recently, I've been sales management I have probably about 15 plus years of sales management experience. And life took a turn. In December, I was with a company I won't mention their name. I was with them for about 7 years and, you know, worked my way up from customer care, answering phone calls to sales management in a short period of time. Then for probably like 4 or 5 years, I was sales management. And December got let go from the company. There was a lot of changes going on. So, you know, people get let go in transitions and all that stuff. I got let go and took it pretty rough. You know, the last couple of years of my life, there's been a lot of changes from relationships ending to moving into a house by myself. First time I've ever lived alone in my life. I was 40 years old, which is crazy.
It's wild to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always had roommates. I lived in the barracks when I was lived with girlfriends, fiancés, lived with roommates in the barracks when I was in the military. So never had a chance to live by myself. So 4 years ago, life happened. Relationship ended, moved by myself, hit a bit of a depression. And then got let go from my job in December of last year, actually December 28th, which was the last working day of the year. Yay me. But took it pretty rough and took a few months to get over it and try to figure out where I wanted to go in life, because people out there that work in sales know that it's a toxic environment. Any kind of like sales or even going down to like retail sales, toxic as hell as far as the environment goes. You never know where you're going to be from day to day. As far as if your numbers are bad, you know, you can get let go, they can fire you, whatever. And I finally took a few months and sat down and decided that it was time to do something to make me happy. I lived so many years doing things to make other people happy, busting my ass at work, to appease everyone else, wondering if I'm going to get fired, if, I'm going to have a job the next day, but mostly just living for other people. And it's hard to transition from that to doing something for you. And I finally sat down and decided that I wanted to do something that would make me happy, because I was 43 and I realized most people live to what, 80, 90 years old, 85 roughly. And I realized I still have half of my life to still live. And I didn't want to do that living how I was. So I took that to heart and sat down, talked to people. I talked to you about it. I talked to you and Rachel, some of my friends up here, my niece, my sister, all that, and decided it was time to go back to school to change my future.
It's a big choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge choice, because I don't know if this is going to work out. And I was looking over Facebook posts today when you mentioned me coming on the show. I was looking over Facebook posts, from over the last year, and I came across that one from April where it was that moment where I was like, you know what? It's time to bet on myself and take that step. And, I've always been into photography, I've taught myself Photoshop, and not professionally, but I taught myself Photoshop over the years and all that stuff. So I decided that kind of stuff makes me happy. I enjoy doing it. So I talked to school here. And if there's anyone listening that lives in a state that college is free for, getting an associate's degree, like it is here in Massachusetts, definitely, think about going. Because I sat down with the school, figured out what I wanted to do, and I have took 2 summer semesters of school already, and I'm in my first full-time fall semester. And it's just probably been the best decision I've ever made for me. So
let's kind of unpack this. So that's a big thing, right? So you've gone through a lot of stuff, like you said, over the past even few years. I think what you said, like really, because we talked about this the other day, the past 4 years, there have been some major things that have happened with you, personal stuff, relationships, breakups, things like that. Even like, I know different situations with your family, with your parents' health and stuff like that. You've been just dealing with a lot of personal things. So not only do you have the stresses and challenges of life and relationships, but then you say, you have this whole thing that happens where you lose your job, and that is not easy for anyone, right? It's one thing, like me, where you voluntarily choose to leave your job, but it's a different thing when all of a sudden, especially when you're doing well, there's no indications that you're not doing anything right, and they're just like, oh, hey, yeah, we're letting you go. Like, what?
Hey, thanks, bye.
Yeah, thanks, bye. Thanks for the memories. 7 years. So that's a whole nother level of change and challenge, which I know a lot of people have experienced over the past couple of years, especially through the COVID era and everything. There's been a lot of people that have been let go and companies shutting down and everything. So in that, it would have been easy for you just to say, well, hey, I've got 7 years of a good reputation with a company, sales manager, all of this. You could have easily have just gone on to apply for another job, right? And probably gotten a decent paying job. But like you said, you chose to bet on yourself and to pursue something that makes you happy. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because the last podcast I recorded, I was talking about like your passion and your vocation and calling and stuff like that, and how I think so often we tell ourselves and we tell each other that our jobs need to be what we're passionate about, which I think it helps, but it's not necessary. But for you, you've taken something that you're very interested in, because you always have been a creative person. So you're taking that decision and pursuing that creative field that you've been wanting to do, and you're betting on yourself. And so you're trying something new, which is definitely scary. Anybody that's ever done anything new knows that it's scary, especially you're shifting your career, right? Like for me, I made the decision to leave the job I was at, start my own company, but I'm not completely shifting my career. I'm still in the same field. But I did talk about the other day is that, in that, I was struggling with the idea of maybe do I pursue counseling? Do I go to school and finish that degree? But then through a conversation with someone, I realized I don't really need to go to school for counseling because I've got this platform of podcasting, YouTube, the means to make content and video and do it well. So I have a platform to speak to people, speak to you, which is a form of counseling. I'm by no means a professional counselor. I definitely support that. And, there are people out there that do it and do it well. So everybody should tap into that. But yeah, so I want to unpack that with you. So let's talk about, you made this decision to completely shift your career. So you're in your 40s now. You're going back to school with teenagers, young adults.
There's high school kids. High school. There's this girl in 2 of my classes that's in high school. I mean, and she asks me questions all the time, like, what is it like to be an adult? What do I have to expect? And I'm just like, I'm back in college at 44. I don't think I'm the right person to ask there, lady.
I mean, but honestly, though, think about that. Let's stop for a second there. Think about that opportunity you have, right? Because you have been through a lot, right? You, just like me and a lot of people out there, we've seen some shit.
Yeah. And
we've dealt with stuff. So I think it's kind of cool that somebody at that age, at a young age, late teens, early adult, is asking the questions of you like, hey, what does it mean to be an adult? What can I expect? So you kind of have this cool opportunity now to impart some of the wisdom and the lessons that you've learned to maybe help others. I don't want to say avoid the pitfalls because you haven't really had pitfalls, but maybe just help prepare them for things that could happen, right? Like it is good to say that, hey, I'm 40 and I'm back in school. I don't think that's a negative, right? Because you've made this decision, so you become aware of yourself enough that you know what you want to do. So I think, right, that's a lesson right there, that you pursue that which is in your heart. And if you can learn that at a young age to pursue and push for that, like where do you think you would be, or what would you tell yourself if you were that 18, 19-year-old in school asking you, hey, what do I have to look forward to? What should I think about? What should I do with my career? What would you tell them knowing what you know now?
I know you touched on it a little bit ago about, vocation and passions being separate. And some people, I know a lot of people like myself. I'm huge into computers, always have been. And I worked in IT for a little bit and I got bored of it. It wasn't really passionate to me. I enjoyed doing it, yes. But I would tell myself if I was in that state to look more at what I'm passionate about so I can be happy. You don't have to have it all figured out at 18. I joined the military at 18. I was in the Army. I didn't have the last few years from about 13, 14 until I joined the military wasn't, the best for a child with, my parents going through a divorce and, my mom being bipolar and she wasn't always there, and transitioning that way, telling myself and, even kids that are out there is you don't have to have it figured out. Mm-hmm. Take it day by day, figure out what you're passionate about. If you want to go to college, that's always an option. You don't have to, in some cases, you can go to vocational schools, whatever. But I would tell myself to not focus on what I have to do to be grown up when I turn 18. I would tell myself to focus on what I want to do, because I lived the first half of my life now almost miserable most of the time, going to work day after day and something I didn't want to do. You don't have to take the first job that's offered to you. You don't have to, be, that grown up right when you turn 18. You don't have to have it figured out.
You don't have to be what the world is telling you to be.
Right.
I mean, what the world tells us, I think nowadays, especially, is get a job and be successful and have a lot of money and buy a house and have a family and this and that, right? Like we live in a time when we can really define who we are and what we do, right? I mean, there's platforms where people can make livings doing this, doing social media, doing content, having podcasts. And it's not like it was even for our parents, even, just that generation right there, where there wasn't access to social media. There wasn't access to these online platforms. So those were your options, right? Get a good paying job and be a part of a company and do this stuff. And, I think my stepdad didn't go that route, right? He has been a businessman and entrepreneur almost his entire life. I mean, early on, he worked in the factories and stuff, which is where his dad worked. But then he owned resorts, he owned car dealerships, he owned furniture companies. So he was always kind of doing these different things, right? Trying to make his own path. And I think the other key in this too is that, like, it's not just what will we tell our 18, 19-year-old selves, but it's not too late now to make a change.
Right.
You're in your 40s, I'm in my 40s, and we've both decided to make drastic life changes. Some because we were forced into it or forced to look at a new perspective, than others because I got to that point where I wasn't happy anymore with kind of what I was doing. And that's what I realized is that I was talking about this before, is that my passion is not video and photography. I love creating. I do. I love it. And it's part of me, and it's always going to be a part of me. It's been a part of me since I was a kid, as far back as I can remember, drawing and writing and creating. But that's not what drives me, right? Like, I don't get up every morning like, oh man, what can I shoot today? Some people, they do. They get up and they look to make beautiful images every day, and that's awesome, and that's their passion. I did a photo shoot yesterday. And at the end of the photo shoot, I sat down with the client, and we were all talking, and they were just saying, I feel so amazing after doing the shoot. I'm normally a very self-conscious person, and I don't like the way that I look, and it's hard for me to look at myself in the mirror sometimes, and definitely not in front of a camera. But taking these photos with you today, even seeing the photos from the camera, I can't believe that this is me, that I look this way. And the confidence, the energy, the positivity that they felt out of that, it was a concept that they had put together, and we shot it. But seeing that, and then it even further made me realize that my passion is people. It always has been people. Everywhere that I've gone, my connection point is with the people and what I can do for people. So video and photography, creativity, it's something I do. It's part of it's my job. It's my vocation. But my passion is the people in that process, right? Like, I think we can look at what we've done. For me, the writing, the gaming, all of that stuff, like my streaming, when my streaming was going well, it was never about the gaming or the streaming or the content that drove me. It was the people and the community that I connected to. So, it's never too late and never too early to figure out what you're passionate about and then integrate that into a career. Maybe you are a sales manager and maybe your passion is still people, and finding a way to turn that into your job or integrating it into it. So I think you have great advice there for the young people, for the generations, even for people looking to make a change. It's never too late. And I like the perspective you have too of, I'm in my 40s, but I've still got a lot of life left to live. So it's not too late to make a change. So going forward, like as you move forward now, because, you said you went to the military and you kind of just did what you thought you should do, right? What society told you to do, what the world told you to do. So what do you want to do now? Like, and I know it's not all laid out yet, but what do you kind of hope for, like, with this change in life? Like, obviously you're happier. I've noticed that, right? The positive feedback that you've been getting even from your professors and stuff. I know it's really cool seeing you light up about that, because it's things that you didn't even realize you were capable of. And you're doing. So talk about that then. Like, how's school been going, and kind of like where are you going with it?
School's actually been really going good. Surprise, like you mentioned, we're in our 40s, and I was scared going back to school, because I knew I was going to be around a lot of kids that are half my age. I have a son that's older than some of the kids in my classes, so it was rough. and you've had to drill it in my head a few times, and that I'm more creative than I think I am. And just the feedback from not only my professors, but like yesterday in my photography class, and almost all my classes, because it's a design class, you get critiqued on stuff. And you're going to do that throughout your whole career in the design industry, regardless of which way you go. You're going to get critiqued on stuff. So every project we have, we present. We get critiqued from not only our professors, but from the other students in the class. So even just going up and showing off what I did as far as a couple of portrait photographs that I took, and getting like a really good feedback on it, just set with me like, holy shit, maybe I, am better than I think that I am, and I can do this. But another thing is that I've been thinking about too is, with any field you go into, there's broad spectrums of things. So like, I'm in graphic design classes, I'm in photography classes, user interface, user experience design classes, stuff like that. But my focus, I think, is I'm passionate with sports.
Mm.
Like, outside of gaming, sports are a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
So looking at what I could do in sports with what I'm going to school for, there's so much.
Yeah.
And that's something I didn't even think of when I was really going into this is, you know, I'm going to take graphic design. I'm going to get pigeonholed into, being a graphic designer or something like that when I get out of school. But no, I can take passions from my personal life into, the field that I'm in school for, that I want to build a career in. And that's what I think a lot of people can do, is look at what you're passionate about in your personal life. And there are careers out there that you would never even think could get
Yeah.
you into doing that. Like, I
Yeah.
could go into, working for NASCAR, because I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I could go into working in like for the NHL, stuff like that.
Yep.
And it's just crazy thinking about it now, that I didn't even think about stuff like this when I was signing up for school. I just knew that it was something that I liked to do, and I wanted to see where it would take me.
Yeah. So sometimes, I mean, it's taking that initial step and just moving forward. And so I know for me, my struggle is I always feel like I have to have the whole plan laid out. It's what we've been going through with the business and trying to get everything going. I mean, we've been doing this for 3 months now, pretty heavily. And I say heavily as far as it's been our focus, but I realize it hasn't been my focus as much as it could have been. And I'm the type of person, when I do something, I like to know, okay, well, what are we going to do? How's it going to go? Where's this? What's step 1 through 10? And where's it going to lead to? And what are the results going to be? And this has been a masterclass in not knowing how it's going to go, or if it's going to work. Right? And I know you kind of even mentioned that at the beginning, with going back to school and changing your career. Like, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't even know if it's going to work. But I think we have the power and the ability to make things work, right? Like, it's only going to go as far as we let it go. We are the only thing that's limiting us, right? There's nobody else out there. Nobody can limit you in what you do. At the end of the day, the only factor that keeps you from achieving something you want to do is yourself, right? I mean, we've seen it. We've seen people come up from nothing and make something out of themselves. And sure, you might face more adversity depending on your walk of life or where you're at or where you're from. But people have shown that if you persist and push forward, you can overcome the obstacles and achieve what you want to do. So, I think that's the next thing we look at here with us, is that, it's going to be tough. It is. It's going to be a challenge. So what are some of the challenges that you've faced in this new transition moving forward? Like, what's some of the shit you've been going through?
Biggest one that scared me, like the biggest one, is I was diagnosed ADHD when I was 12. I was on medication the whole time I was in school, through high school, everything. And I never got good grades in school because, I do have ADHD, and I couldn't focus, couldn't do a lot of things. I didn't like the way that like I was on Ritalin, so I didn't like the way it made me feel when I was in school. I felt like, I was a walking zombie sometimes. So there was a lot of times, I wouldn't take my meds, so I didn't feel that way. So I didn't get good grades. I was discouraged because of that.
Mhm.
When I joined the military, I couldn't take ADHD meds because they didn't allow it. You had to pass drug tests, and that would, you know, make you pop hot, and you could get kicked out of the military for that. So that's one thing that scared me. But I started seeing a therapist, and I'm back on my Adderall, so that is actually helping. That was one of my biggest stepping stones, is doing that again.
Mm.
Because I was scared on how I was going to react to meds, how I was going to be on them and all that. But I got straight A's in all my classes. One of my professors that told our class at the beginning of the semester, the first project that we do, he's only ever given out one perfect 10 out of 10 the whole time he's been teaching. And I'm now the second one.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, I was really like, when I got that back, I actually sent you and Rachel the screenshot of it. Like the minute I opened that up, I was like, shit. And, getting over that hurdle and realizing, the medication was helping and it wasn't making me feel as bad as I thought it was. That was the biggest one.
Nothing wrong with asking for help, right? I mean, like you asked for help and it's benefited you. Right? Because you were afraid. You were afraid of the medication. You were afraid of how it was going to affect you, but you got the right help and it's helped you. You benefited from it. And now you're doing amazing in school and you're pushing forward in life. So let's move on to the future. What do you see as like your challenges right now moving forward that you're working on? Maybe challenges you're working through or to overcome as you push forward?
I've been out of work since I got let go in December. On unemployment. I'm living, doing my thing. No issues there. But I think my biggest hurdle is in the next few months, I am going to push myself to get back to work. And my biggest hurdle, I think, is when I get back to work, because I haven't finished school yet. I don't know everything I need to get a job in the field I'm going to school for. So I'm going to have to get a job in something I'm comfortable with until then. And I think my biggest hurdle is once I get back into, like, even if I go back into sales while I'm in school, not falling back into that pattern and not focusing on school.
Yeah. I think the thing that with that is that now you have a different focus, right? Like, if you do go back into sales or you do go back into some space like that, you now know that there's something bigger that you're pushing for, right? So that can help you motivationally, like, hey, this isn't forever. This is temporary. This is, just something I need to do to, get by and have a better quality of life, because my end goal is to finish school. And once I get there, so I think, it's that, right? It's going into these challenges, these different phases, and taking the proper perspective of knowing what's going forward, like what's coming, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to do with our business. Even is just, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know. We're trying to pay the bills right now, but I know that it's going to be something. I just don't know what yet. And I saw a quote today, and it was something along the lines of the struggle is always the hardest, like right before a breakthrough. And that's when most people give up, right? I was talking to a friend of mine. She started a business. They're now, in their first year or just past their first year, and they're turning profit and doing very well. But she talked about how in the first 6 months, the first 9 months, like, she really wanted to quit. They wanted to quit, throw in the towel and just give up on everything. And that's where I'm at, because I'm in the first 3 months. And so I've had these thoughts. I'm like, do I just quit and just get a 9 to 5 again? Just go back to work? And, so it's wrestling with that and trying to push forward and push through, especially when you can't always see the end goal. So for you, I feel at least you have like an end goal of, okay, you're going to finish school. And then you do have these ideas like, oh, I could go into NASCAR. I could do this. So I think it's one of those things where you start to find the avenues that you can plug in as you're still in school, right? Whether it's internships or stuff like that, maybe. And
that's one thing I have been looking into. So I'm trying that route. I've been looking at internships and all that stuff because I live in Massachusetts. There's
lots of
a ton
sports,
of stuff out
lots
there.
of stuff up there.
Yep. So not only that, but I've also spring registration just started. So, I already got my classes set up for the spring to be able to still go to school and set my classes to where I can still work too. So I'm taking those steps
Yeah.
at least now to get myself set up, which I think is going to help a lot.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So let's just land this plane, wrap this up. What advice do you have for someone out there that's looking to make a change? Maybe I think we're in this space where there's a lot of people that are around our age, maybe younger, maybe older, that aren't happy or that maybe lost their jobs and they're looking to do something different. What advice do you have for them moving forward and pursuing something?
I know it sounds so cliche. Just don't give up. Um, don't think that changing your career at any part of your life is a mistake. If you know it's something that's going to make you happy. And outside of just, yourself, but for the people around you too, you could, like I think I've done, I decided to go back to school. I was talking to people that, not only did they not know that there's a program in Massachusetts for free college, but they didn't think that they were worth more than what they were doing because they had kids, they have, responsibilities. They didn't think going to school would not only not benefit them, but, not be something that would be worthwhile in the long run. But there's 3 people from my last job that are now in school. So, that helped motivate me too, because seeing them get excited about going back to school. Um, but not only that, it's outside of just doing it for yourself or thinking that it's not going to work for you is a better way to put it. Not thinking you can do it, not thinking you have the resources, you don't have the money to go back to school. Every state has programs. I didn't think I was going to go back to school because not only my ADHD, a lot of my classes, I need to be there because I need to be taught that way. Um, there's programs that have helped me as far as extending my unemployment from losing my job so I could focus on school and get ready and transition back into getting another job with school. So there's programs out there if you don't think you can, do it financially or whatever, talk to people.
Yeah.
You got the greatest resource in the world. You have a Google machine in your pocket at all times.
Yeah.
Google it.
I think the big thing, right, is just don't be afraid to take the steps. Don't be afraid to try something new, try something different. Like you said, if it's something you're passionate about, if it's something that's going to make you happy, just do it, man. Just push and there's people out there that are going to support you, friends, family, whoever it is. And then also, I think an interesting thing in that is don't fail to realize that you might be an inspiration for somebody else, right? Like, don't forget the power that you have as an individual to motivate others, right? Like you said, there's other people that have been motivated by what you've done because you were brave enough to take the steps and pursue something. And I think that's the big thing, right? If we can just live our lives doing things and maybe motivate somebody else or help somebody else in some way. Like I always say that if I can help one person, then I've done something meaningful. So yeah, don't be afraid to live your life, be authentic, and pursue that what makes you happy, right? As long as you're not hurting anybody else or yourself, like, do what you want. Do what makes you happy.
I've lost people in my life since I lost my job because I decided to take some time for me and focus on going back to school. And I've lost people that, didn't think I was, focused on bettering myself or getting a job thinking I was lazy. I'm in school at 44 years old.
Yeah.
I'm taking a step to better myself. If you don't want to support me through that and you think I'm being lazy because I'm not working, but I'm in school, then I don't need you in my life.
Yeah, I think the reality of it is that, and I've noticed this too with my life, is that if we're living our life authentically for ourselves, like I said, as long as we're not hurting others or hurting ourselves, you're going to naturally filter out the people that you don't need to be around. They'll filter themselves out. And I think that's important, right? Is that we learn it's okay to cut ties with certain people that aren't, and I won't say that aren't benefiting us, but that aren't supporting us or lifting us up, especially if we're trying to do something to better ourselves. I mean, there's one thing if you're doing something and you get people speaking to you like, I don't think that's the best idea, and here's why, and give you food for thought, and maybe something isn't the best for you to do, and you have those friends that speak that wisdom. But then if there aren't people that you're doing something to make your career better, your life better, and that can't support you in that, then they're gonna filter themselves out, and that's okay. It's okay to lose people. I think that's something we need to learn, is that it's okay to lose people. It's okay to let people go, because the right people are going to come into your life, or maybe they're already there, and they're going to support you. They're going to have your back, and they're going to help you. Whether it's just motivation or support or, whatever it is. So don't be afraid to lose people in life. That's okay. It's okay. It's necessary sometimes to grow. And again, you move into different phases of life. Sometimes people just don't fit that phase anymore. And people were in your life for a certain amount of time that helped you, and they were there to teach you things, and now they just don't fit anymore. That's okay. Well, I appreciate you jumping on the podcast and talking. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Just it's cool to just kind of hear your story and life change and big decisions, and hopefully, somebody else out there will be thinking, maybe they're thinking about making a change, or they're struggling, they don't know what to do, and maybe they'll find some motivation through your story and through your words. So that's my goal. I'm still thinking of a way to wrap up this podcast, because I've never had a good ending for it. So cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe. I hate that so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment if this podcast has helped you in any way. Appreciate all your support. I mean, we started the podcast up again. We're already getting messages from people talking about the episode and their thoughts on it. So thank you all for your feedback, for your support, for sharing, tuning in. Going to be bringing these to you regularly. If you want to be on the podcast, shoot me a message, insightsintoasoul @gmail.com, on Instagram at insightsintoasoul_official. And let me know if you got a cool story. And everybody's got a story. So shoot me a message, and we'll get you on the podcast to talk and get your insights into your soul. Yeah, there we go. All right. Until next time. Peace, I guess. I don't know.
Deuces.